During the 1950s, there was a huge influx of young women who moved to Hollywood, who were also known as starlets. They want to make a name for themselves in the industry, and they will do whatever they can to become actresses and models. Unfortunately, when starlets take part in industry work, they run the risk of meeting some alarming and even dangerous people. One photographer in particular is known for taking photos of women in various vulnerable positions, who was later known as the Glamour Girl Slayer. October 10th, 1927. Harvey Glatman is born into a Jewish family who lives in the Bronx and later moves to Denver, Colorado. There, growing up, he exhibits reserved and antisocial behaviors. His parents often catch him making various sexual discoveries. Now usually, this is quite normal for a kid his age. However, his impulses are a bit too extreme. For the majority of his youth, he takes part in the Boy Scouts, and it's there that he becomes captivated by rope. This obsession continues growing until one day, at just 12 years old, his mother catches him pleasuring himself with a rope tied around his neck. When his mom questions him, Harvey simply says that it gives him immense pleasure. Concerned, Harvey's parents go to a physician and ask if his behavior is normal. Now he states that Harvey is just a kid, and that he'll eventually grow out of it. Unfortunately, as he grows older, this type of behavior develops further and further, as he gets sexual pleasure from inflicting pain on other people. This leads him breaking into women's homes and stealing objects. And now this eventually grows into Harvey stalking women and forcing them to commit various actions against their consent. For example, in November of 1945, when Harvey is just 18, he's arrested for tying up a classmate and holding her at gunpoint, forcing her to do things against her will. Now once he's been arrested and taken to jail, he only spends 1 month behind bars, where he's released afterwards, continuing his list of crimes. In 1957, Harvey moves to LA and sets his sights on photography. He soon joins a photography club and discovers that many women are willing to take part in freelance photo shoots to support their ambitions to become famous. On August 1st, 1957, a 19-year-old starlet named Judy Dull allowed Harvey to do a photo shoot with her for only $20. Now at the time, $20 was actually worth a lot of money, and besides, Harvey seemed like a very friendly person, and seemed like a nerd to Judy because of his thick glasses and oversized ears. Now once Judy reaches Harvey's apartment, he states that the photos that he's going to take are for a detective magazine, and that he needs photos of her being tied up and gagged. Now since Judy genuinely needs the money, and didn't really do photo shoots before, she lets Harvey tie her up and gag her. However, this does not satisfy Harvey. Soon, he pulls out a gun, assuring Judy that it's fake, and tells her that he wants to point it towards her to get a good shot for the photo. Now from the photos shown, Judy isn't quite afraid, but is still uncomfortable since she's putting herself in a very defenseless position. Now all of a sudden, he stops the act, states that the gun is real, and tells her that the only way that she'll be able to escape is to follow exactly what he says. He begins taking pictures of her while assaulting her, and as a result, Harvey Glatman loses his virginity at the age of 29. After this, Judy is then forced to cuddle with Harvey on the couch while they watch TV, and after a few hours, she asks Harvey if she could use the bathroom, promising him that she would never escape. And it is at this moment that Harvey realizes that she needs to die. He then ties her up, puts her in his car, and drives her to the Mojave Desert in San Bernardino Valley, where he then strangles her and buries her into the sand. After this, the police department puts out wanted listings of the missing starlet, where Harvey is afraid that the other women know of the disappearance, so he thinks of another way to find new women. He soon finds and joins a Lonely Hearts Club, which is basically Tinder but in person. Now single people meet each other, and one of the women he finds is 24-year-old Shirley Ann Bridgeford. March 9th, 1958, Harvey and Shirley meet and are planning to go dancing. A few minutes into the drive, however, and Shirley immediately realizes that they're going in the opposite direction, and within only a few hours, she's bound, photographed, and repeatedly assaulted by Harvey before transporting her into the desert and murdering her. However, this time, he doesn't bury her. He leaves her body out in the wild for animals to break apart. Harvey's third victim is a model named Ruth Mercado. Like the other women, she's struggling financially and is happy to be able to earn the extra money. However, when Harvey reaches her apartment, Ruth is feeling a bit sick, so he leaves and comes back a few hours later. This time, he refuses to take no for an answer, so he breaks into her house and repeats the barbaric process all over again. He holds her at gunpoint, ties her up, touches her in various areas, while taking pictures of her. However, this time Harvey took a good liking to Ruth, and he was trying to find a way to keep her alive. Unfortunately, he realizes that he must drive to the desert and kill her again. Later in October 1958, 28-year-old Lorraine Vigil saw a modeling ad on the newspaper and agreed to do a gig for Harvey. Now, things seem to be pretty normal at first, but as they're driving, she quickly notices that they're heading in the wrong direction and taking a turn to exit the city. After a few minutes, she speaks up and asks Harvey where they're going. Shortly after, he pulls over saying that they have a flat tire. He then gets out of the car to fix the tire, but instead goes to the trunk to retrieve a gun and points it directly at Lorraine. However, this time she acts quickly and grabs hold of the barrel and fights back, something Harvey isn't actually used to. He tells her that if she does what he says, nothing bad will happen to her. Thankfully, Lorraine doesn't let go and suddenly, the gun goes off. Thankfully, however, the bullet hits the edge of her leg and Lorraine manages to bite Harvey's wrist, where she takes the gun and points it back at him. He then gets on his knees, begging her to give the gun back, as a patrol officer pulls over towards them. The officer assumes the two are a couple and that Lorraine was actually assaulting Harvey. However, he quickly realizes that this is not the case and takes the two into custody. Under custody, he confesses to 3 murders and brings police over to a toolbox that contains multiple photos of the victims. Soon, in 1958, Harvey Glatman is given 2 counts of first-degree murder and is executed in a gas chamber in the following year.